not muted, and we are like a half a second early. Actually, no, we're right on the nose. So I just want to thank everybody for starting their day early with us. And Tim, I really, really, really want to thank you for getting up early and doing this. And as we were talking about earlier, this has become more and more of a topic, and I'll turn that over to you. But for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Lisa Oxenhandler with Recruiting for Growth. And I started doing these breakfasts with the experts just to kind of bring everybody together and talk about topics that people would like to hear about. So if there is a topic that you'd like to hear in the future, and I was talking to Tim, just let me know and we'll see if we can't arrange it. But now I'm just going to turn everything over to you, Tim. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. So my name is Tim Carroll. I'm the general manager at Working Spaces, where we create and inspire organizational culture and employee engagement through architecture, furniture, and technology. And, we've been in a crazy part of our history as an industry in the past 5 months. And we've been getting a lot of questions. So, of course, we've been doing a lot of research. We've been doing a lot of reading, talking to other people around from the industry, around the country, and really trying to dig into this question that we've been getting a bunch. And oddly enough, my master's thesis years ago was in building culture in a virtual world. And I had no idea it would become so relevant in 2020. But the question we keep getting is, what does the future of the workplace look like? And is work from home as great as it seemed back in March, April, May? And I'll jump ahead just a little bit and tell you from the Wall Street Journal, just a few weeks ago, there was a title, I'll read it right here. It says, "The work from home trend is showing some cracks." I think as we stay home more and more, which clearly I'm not, I'm in our office where we've been since May 4th. But as people stay home more and more and more, I think they're starting to realize it's not as much of a Shangri-La as we thought it was back in March, April, and May. So why was it working in the beginning? So let's go back. Lo, those many months ago, back to around the middle of March, when this pandemic started, we had no idea what was going on, what the impact would be to the country, what the impact would be to us individually, in our station, at our companies, what was going to happen. So we grabbed our computers and we went home with a healthy dose of fear. And I will tell you, fear is a pretty great motivator sometimes, right? And so we were all at home, no options. You could work or you could walk. You could work or you could walk. That was it. So we were working long hours. We were Zooming night and day. And I don't know about any of you, but I will raise my hand and say, I have a healthy dose of Zoom fatigue. We've been doing Zoom since early last year, and it was great. March, April, May, and beyond, we've been doing it nonstop, and with our clients and of course internally. And so, there were just no options out there to do anything else. No businesses were open. So of course, everybody felt effective and efficient. But as we've been home a little bit longer, we're starting to realize there's distractions. I was on a Zoom call from home earlier last week and had to stop completely for World War III that had broken out between my 8 and 9-year-old. And had to leave the conversation and come back. And, that's the kind of, and by the way, we've all just agreed that that's acceptable these days, right? Because everybody's at home and the dogs pop into the camera or the kids run across with diapers on or whatever. It's just common accepting now, right? So, but the distractions become really difficult. So where does it really become difficult? It's in building that culture or maintaining that culture virtually. Can it happen? Absolutely. And I'm here to tell you, first of all, there is no one prescriptive for any company. Some companies work from home is going to work for, and we'll go through that. Some companies, it just won't. But I'm here to tell you, if you don't have a strategy around building and maintaining the culture virtually, it's not going to succeed. It's not about, and I'll save you all the great joy or pain of reading my thesis on building or maintaining culture in a virtual world and tell you it can be done. It can be done, but it's hard. It's exhausting. And you run the risk considerably of burning out your leaders. Leadership has to work twice as hard in order to make sure that that employee is engaged and is tied and anchored to something. Zoom helps. It absolutely does. But trying to maintain some semblance of that culture that you get in the office, it's tough. We tried it. We did it. And I was exhausted every night. Exhausted every night. Could not wait to get back in the office. Matter of fact, on May 4th, I left skid marks in my driveway as I went home and went to the office that day. You know, we talk about Zoom, and Zoom's CEO, let me quote Zoom CEO from Inc. magazine just a month or two ago. He said, technology-wise, we are not ready to work from home. It may be 15 to 20 years out for productivity and the infrastructure to fully support work from home. The CEO of Zoom, whom we all have used as our foundational tool to work from home, is saying, this isn't the be-all, end-all tool, and we're still a ways out before that tool is ready. So for me, I think we have to look to the past to inform the future. There have been a lot of companies that have tried this work from home. Lest we forget the very famous or infamous Yahoo, when Melissa Meyer decided she needed to, when she took over the company, she needed to get control over the culture of the company and brought everybody back from working behind their computers at home. And she was vilified for it. But she was right. And a lot of people were upset because they had to put pants on and come back to work. But the truth of the matter is, to change culture, very, very difficult, if not impossible. And she knew that and brought them back. IBM has tried this a few years ago with a division of their company. Sent them all home, realized they couldn't do it, brought them all back. Pitney Bowes, while I worked there, sent everybody home and called us agile and brought us back within a year. And why? Why would companies try it and then bring everybody back? Well, they all said the same things. Innovation. Innovation was hurt. They couldn't be as nimble as their competitors. Deadlines were missed. Conversations that could be had in the office and it just be a quick conversation to get to the finish line were taking multiple Zooms, multiple video conferences to try to get the same thing accomplished. Collaboration. It's tough. Anybody ever be on a Zoom call and be talking over each other? No, that doesn't happen. It's hard to communicate in a virtual world. And so the collaboration, distraction was a cause. And that word again comes up, culture. They were losing the soul of the company. So they brought everybody back. So we should learn from other people's, they did it. Other people's strategy, we should absolutely take a look at. So there's two ways to look at this, from the employer perspective and the employee perspective. Now, as a business leader, we need an anchor for the culture of the company. Whatever that is, you need an anchor for the culture and the loyalty of the company. And I submit to you that the office is that place where culture can thrive and grow, and the seeds of the culture are created in the office space. Employees have a vast capacity for loyalty. if given the opportunity. If you've worked with or worked for or had someone work for you that has said, look, I've been offered more to go somewhere else, but I'm staying where I'm at because I believe in this company, I'm loyal to this company, and I love the culture of this company. Now, let's play this out. Everybody works from home. You're nothing but a picture on a screen. Where's the loyalty? Where's the anchor? That's, if you're not working tirelessly, where is that anchor? And so you're pretty much renting your employees at that point, because they're going to leave for the next highest bidder. $5 more a year, they'll say, well, I might as well go and make more money if I'm working from home anyway. Or worse, you're going to lose somebody that wants to go somewhere where they can have more of a connection to people. And there's a dollar figure attached to every turnover. That turnover rate in large companies is tracked for the dollar figure that's attached per person. And there's a dollar attached to the turnover. So what you may see for some of these companies that are working from home and saying this is how we're going to do it, you may see their turnover rates start to rise. And at some point, someone's going to make the connection that maybe it's because they have no connection or loyalty to this company. So there's also the employee experience or perspective. And this one's an interesting one because I think there's a number of employees that want to work from home. And I don't know if they've completely played out that strategy. Work from home really is singularly good for the employer if they are interested in saving money on overhead for office space. But for the employee, they go home, they work from home. They prove to the employer who made the decision because they wanted to save money. They prove to the employer that their presence is not required. Now what? It's a very small leap to that employer starting to look all around the world for somebody to do that job for less money. If your presence isn't required, I can now hire someone from Alabama. I can now hire someone from Brazil to do that job. And there's a lot of competent people around the world, and there's a lot of competent people that will do your job for less. Your competition becomes everyone in the world if your presence isn't required. You know, I read in one article, they were talking about how there's a reason why things that are made by hand are more expensive than those things made by a machine. It's because the personal interaction matters. Now, this isn't something that this company, our company, would ever do, because we believe that that personal interaction matters and that the client experience matters, and the best way to control that is one-on-one. So these employees that are pushing for the work from home, not sure they've played that thing out to really know that they're just proving a concept for the company to save even more money. So when does it work? And it does work. I'll give you an example. I have a brother, I have a couple of brothers, but one of my brothers is a graphic designer. He lives in Nashville, and it's a 3-person shop. They've been together for 25 years. So for smaller companies that have an established shorthand communication, which they do, it can work. The 3 of them do heads down work. They've been together for 25 years. They know what each other's going to do before they do it. They're getting rid of their office, very expensive office, and they're all going to work from home. That totally works. Another way it works is for companies that have little to no collaboration. And the first one that comes to mind is, say, IT companies that do, the individuals do a lot of coding. Those individuals could potentially work from home because they're not collaborating and content creating and doing anything like that together. Gross generalization, because some do, but in those instances, that could work. So there are places where work from home not only will work, but will thrive. And it's a great decision for the company. So for those companies that understand that work from home may not be as shiny as we thought it was for a few months, what does the future look like? Well, there's a few different options that are out there. Of course, there's a full come back to the office, and I think a lot of companies are going to do that. But there are others, like the hybrid, which our company is heading down the road starting next week, where we're going to allow our employees to work from home 2 days a week, where the office becomes the social and collaborative hub of the company. So heads down work can get done at home, theoretically, unless you have an 8 and 9-year-old that are fighting. But the heads down work can get done from home. And the more content creation, meetings with teams, and collaboration will happen here at the office. We're going to increase our full company meetings to start having more connection with each other, since we're going to be working from home a couple of days a week. And so that hybrid, I think you're going to see a lot. There's also this idea around the hub and spoke. And by the way, this idea has been batted around. First time I heard it was about 10 years ago in Nashville with HCA, and they were talking about doing this. So it's been around for a while, but it's a really interesting concept where you have a centralized office, maybe smaller than the original office, and you have a bunch of smaller offices around it, where the employees don't have to commute as far. They still have other employees around them that can help culture build. You still can use the technology that you have to connect to the main office. And so it's kind of an in-between between working from home and being in the office. The other thing about new buildings, I feel fairly confident there's going to be an even more renewed interest in the well building initiatives or the fit well building initiatives, where the employee takes the most important strategy in the building of that space. So around light and water and sound and all of those things, the tenets of the well building, I think if not it being well certified, they're at least going to use those tenets to try to create spaces that can help the employee. I mean, here at Working Spaces, we truly do believe that we can create spaces where people leave healthier than they arrived. They actually can leave healthier, cognitively, emotionally, physically. The way we create the space, the products that we use, we can make a space where employees leave healthier than they arrived. And I think that's going to become more and more important from ground up construction. Now, the other thing that we need to talk about, and it's kind of the elephant in the room, is there's another pandemic coming, and that is mental health. I think that there's going to be, and I would hope we could all agree that there are issues from distancing from social interaction for as long as we have. And I think for some, that's going to become a big deal, and we're going to have some issues to deal with long term. And by the way, if we can agree upon that, if we can agree that social distancing and the lack of interaction can cause problems, then I think we can agree that being away from the office can be a problem. So we believe that culture matters. We start every conversation around culture. And as I've said, it's really difficult to maintain or build in a virtual world. So culture matters. Purpose matters. Today, more than ever, the vast majority of employees are millennials. And the number one thing that they cite as their reason for staying or leaving a job is they want purpose. Purpose in where and how they work. Why do they do what they do? That's the question they want to answer, not what do they do. Tell me how easy that is to create in a virtual world. Employers are finding that bringing employees on and training them in a virtual world is really tough. I've got an employee on this call right now. I totally onboarded virtually. Not the best. He's doing a great job. It's not the way I would choose to do it. Probably not the way he would choose to do it. And by the way, he beat me to the office the day we were allowed back. So they're also realizing, where is the mentorship? The younger generation needs to learn from us old folks how to work. They watch, they learn. They watch, they learn. That's not happening. Employers are starting to realize that's a problem. For succession, we have a succession problem, a succession difficulty here coming forward if we don't deal with that. Culture matters, purpose matters, and while work from home will work, the office matters. Look, we were counted out. The office business and the office was counted as dead back in late April, but we knew differently. We know differently. And now, as this thing lingers on and on and on, people are starting to realize the office matters. We are on the precipice, I believe, of an office renaissance like we've never seen before. Because everybody that has stayed home has said, I just want some interaction with people. I'll tell you from our experience, when we saw people for the first time come in our office, the excitement they had just to be around other people. People have forgotten that those moments where we thought were the most inefficient, where we were just shooting the breeze with our coworkers, really had the most meaning. Culture is not dictated by a company. It's created, it's a mutually agreed upon way of working and acting created by the employees. The company can try to tell you what we want and try to lead, but the employees are going to decide whether that's where they want to go or not. It's a mutually agreed upon set of rules put up by the employees. And if the employees aren't interacting, where's the culture? So clearly, the office matters, purpose matters, culture matters, and at Working Spaces, we're absolutely equipped to help you with coming back to the office. If you or your company or anybody you know is having issues coming back to the office, again, we've been back May 4th. We have some really great rules and guidelines that we have in our office that we can help share. We know what works, what doesn't. And then the safety of the employees and bringing them back in the way and how you would work best, we can help, be it work from home, hybrid, hub and spoke, or all back in the office. We can absolutely help with that. So I think that's my time. I'd love to open it up for any questions if there are any.
Tim, you hit on several points that I, as a recruiter, love hearing you talk about. First of all, I don't recruit saying, hey, can you do so-and-so and so-and-so? I recruit on the culture. So that was just on the head. And how do you say, we have a great culture via Zoom? So I appreciate that.
Not impossible, but very difficult to do that in a Zoom world.
Well, thanks very much. Anybody else have questions? You'll have to unmute yourself, or if you'd like to just type them into the chat, I'm happy to ask Tim on your behalf. Could you talk a little bit more while everybody's putting their thoughts together? Can you talk a little bit more? You had mentioned the cost of turnover. That's another thing that I always speak to. Is there a specific number or percentage of a salary?
So there are, I think it differs between organizations. But I believe that you have to take into consideration all the time training, all the time searching for an employee, the money that it costs to find the right employee, We use something called the culture index. There's a cost to that when we want them to take that test. There are costs to that, and it generally does come back to the larger organizations. It generally does come back to a percentage of the salary. But when you start, my wife was in HR for many, many years on human capital side, compensation. And she was tasked from a very large Fortune 500 company to come up with incentives to help reward employees to try to save them, because their turnover rate was like grossly high. And it was an IT company, and so they had all kinds of metrics around percentage of the salaries that it costs to get back. So I mean, it gets to be high numbers in the 10, 15, 20% of salary, 30% of salary range to turn that roll over, and that could start adding up if you're in the 30s and 40s like they were, which is crazy number.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit more about your all's culture.
Yeah, so I would say our culture is really defined as we hug our customers internally and externally. We're a hugging culture and a learning culture. So every single employee in this company has a learning and development plan, and we go through every month some kind of personal development in order for us to be able to look back at the end of this year and say, we are better equipped to do our jobs and to be better people today than we were a year ago. And so we kind of take that full body approach and try to heart, mind, soul, and try to lead in some development there. But the number one thing is that hugging your customer and making sure we're doing everything we can internally, fellow employees, and our clients.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Lisa, I actually have a question.
Thanks. Sure.
Tim, so I am actually struggling with this remote work situation. I'm in charge of the staff at my employer, the staff of about 10 people. I've got a mixed bag. So I have half the group who want to be in the office 100% of the time, and I've got a group that want to be at home 100% of the time. Some of those people in that group that want to be at home 100% of the time are the least productive employees. And, you know, I've got issues with accountability. How do I keep them accountable? So, you know, I'm struggling with the balance of how to write a policy to deal with, you know, the overall group and how to also keep them accountable if they are working from home. You know, I don't want to necessarily pick and choose who's allowed to work from home because, you know, that's not going to go over well from an employee morale standpoint. But I just don't really know what to do with this group. It's really tough. Any suggestions?
Sure. So there's a few things to unpack there. So number one, it doesn't surprise me that the ones that are pushing for working from home are the least effective and efficient. I would say, and I don't know your organization, but the organizations that I know, that I've been a part of, those people that really want to work from home generally are the ones that have the least anchor and tie to that company. They're really potentially that flight risk. That's a gross generalization as well, but they're generally that flight risk because they don't buy into the importance of the office and what the office can provide them. The accountability you mentioned. So there's where the exhausting part happens.
Yeah.
So you borderline when you're managing in a virtual world, you're borderlining on that evil word that people talk about, micromanaging. It's not micromanaging. It's you have to have multiple touch points with that employee every day in order to make sure they feel tied to it. Is there some accountability to that? Yes. If they know at any moment somebody could be calling them to find out what's going on, they may not take that 2.5 hour lunch to binge watch, something Ozark on Netflix. So, if they know that that's coming, but they don't know the time and place, they're more apt to stay there. I think that in an office environment can be looked at as micromanagement, but it truly does have to happen in that virtual world. And then there has to be more virtual conversation. you have to bring the group together more frequently when they're virtual in order to tie them to the office. Again, it can get exhausting for a leader to have to do that, and it's not what anybody wants to. But if that's where you are, that's what you have to do. You've got to meet those employees where they are. And then ultimately, the decision has to be what's right for the company first. I mean, and you've got to take employees into consideration, but the health and welfare of the company is a first and foremost decision-making priority. And so be that all being in the office or providing some kind of stopgap or middle ground where you do a hybrid, where you allow them to work from home a couple of days, but let them know, as we have our company, and we have a number of them on the call right now, that productivity is going to be watched. And if that suffers, we'll just bring it all back. But we have to make sure that the productivity is important. And the last point I would make is just as gently as you possibly can inform them, walking them through that strategy of what does it look like if your presence is no longer needed in the office, and that your competition becomes everybody in the world. And would this company find that role somewhere else cheaper and better? And if they can get it more cheaply, you run the risk of having them upgrade your position for a less amount and just bring somebody in from another part of the country or the world. So I think that's a point that a lot of people have missed in this, when they don't see past the tip of their nose and they think, I just want to work from home. Great, but the whole world becomes your competition. I personally want to show my value, and my presence is needed. That's what I would rather, because I feel like that's a safer position from a job standpoint and job security. I hope that helps.
One of the things that we haven't spoken about is, yes, culture, but as an employee, how do you show leadership that you really are a great employee? How do you network with people who can help you progress through your career? So that's another point.
In a virtual world, how do you progress? And so you talk about hard. I mean, then that employee has to take, because first of all, development should be the responsibility of the individual. So I say we have a development plan. We worked with the employees and have a development plan, but true long-lasting development is the responsibility of the employee. And so that means the employee has to reach out. The employee has to start finding ways to connect with maybe a mentor in the office to bounce ideas off. And look, there's not a lot of employees that are going to do that, to take that upon themselves. There are some, and generally they are your highly engaged individuals.
Right.
But your disengaged or highly disengaged employees, they're not going to be doing that. And they're the ones that are generally pushing for the work from home. But they have to take it upon themselves. They have to connect. And if they only can connect virtually, well, that's tough. But there are ways. I mean, you can do side-by-side work, even virtually. We did it. It's not great. We had Dre, our employee that started virtually. He spent days with different functions in our office where he was just on Zoom, watching them do what they do, and they walked him through what they were doing. So he got to hear and see what they were doing. Wasn't great. Would have been better if he was sitting right beside him, but we did what we could to help his development in the world that we lived in at that time.
Right. Mary asked, do the employees all have individual key performance indicators, and can what they are doing be measured?
And Lisa, that question was actually when Teresa was talking.
Okay.
So it was kind of, I meant that when I was asking Teresa that question.
I apologize.
No, I didn't make it clear. And I've got an answer here, so never mind.
And Kristen had asked you to elaborate on the hybrid plan that you all have pushed out.
I think Chris is trying to find out more information. Hey, Kristen, you can reach out to me after this call, considering she reports to me. But I will tell you that it is, so we have two different shifts, Group A, Group B. They're working Monday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. We do actually have some people that will be in the office on Wednesdays as well. So we really won't have a day where where we don't have anybody in the office. Our intent on this truly is, because we came back to work early in May, and we've been able to guide our clients back to the office safely because we've done it. We have credibility with that. So we want to try this hybrid. It may not last forever, but we want to try this hybrid so we can actually inform our clients what works, what doesn't with the hybrid. It also is by virtue of, here in our area with everybody going virtual in school, we're trying to help out the parents a little bit in order for them to be home with their kids, and at least help lessen the burden on them for that. And as I said, with that increased work from home, we're going to increase the company meetings, 15, 20-minute touch points a couple of times a month to make sure, because right now we do one real full company meeting once a quarter. We're going to do a company meeting, just 15, 20 minutes, a couple of times a month to make sure that what's working, what isn't, so we can guide our clients better. And then to really kind of connect and coalesce around whatever we're tracking at that point and whatever we're chasing at that point. So we all have the communication. See, again, here at Working Spaces, we believe in communication. We want to out-communicate and over-communicate to our clients and to our employees. So for that reason, we're going to be out of the office more. We want to bring everybody together and communicate with them even more so they feel safe. They know where we are, what's happening, and they feel in the know. And I think that gives them the ability to run during the money hours unabashed.
Thank you. We are we're after 8 o'clock, and I know I promised the best half hour. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap things up? Okay. Well, Tim, once again, I really, really want to thank you for doing this, and I want to thank everybody for getting up and starting their day so early on a Tuesday morning.
Thank you.
Very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Great job. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.